Assalamu alaikum. Today we will study the next topic regarding the temperature regulation of the body. In this lecture, we will focus what happens to our body, how it is managed when there is increase in the temperature or there is decrease in the temperature, and also how we are able to measure the temperature. Usually it is measured through the thermometer, either increase or decrease. One can have the abnormality regarding the temperature regulation of the body. He or she can suffer from the fever also. This is the method how one can check the temperature. Usually you can see this type of apparatus when your temperature is set for the corona presence. Are you suffering from the fever or not? Usually this kind of machine is handled by a specific person who is standing outside either the bank or the college or any specific institution to check whether the incoming person is suffering from fever or the temperature is normal. This is the same to check the oral temperature. This is the method how one can check the temperature orally. If there is summer season outside, then you can experience the sweat. In this lecture, we will study how sweat is produced and how we are able to manage it. You can see how much sweat over the body after the exercise. Sweat glands are coiled tubular structures in the dermis or hypodermis. I will show you the picture also, which secrete watery fluid and act as a component of the thermoregulatory mechanism of the body. We can have the two types of the sweat glands mainly, acrine and apocrine. Acrine type are abundantly distributed all over the skin and mainly secrete water and electrolytes through the surface of the skin. They are derived from embryonic ectoderm, and they are smaller coiled tubular glands that discharge their secretion directly onto the surface of the skin. This you must remember, that they are pouring their secretion onto the surface of the skin as compared to the other type. These glands help to maintain homeostasis and primarily by stabilizing body temperature. Millions of acrine glands are distributed across human skin and secrete liters of the sweat per day. The other type is the apocrine sweat glands. They are again coiled tubular glands, but they discharge in the canals of hair follicles. I will show you the picture and the two types. This is the picture to show how the two types they are working. Acrine pouring the secretion over the skin, while the other they are mainly present in the roots of the hair. Showing this animation showing the function of the sweat glands, coiled gland, acrine gland secreting its secretion over the surface of the skin. Again another animation to show you how the secretions they are poured over the surface of the skin. You can see these one secretions poured by the sweat glands over the skin. These are the layers of the skin, dermis and the epidermis, and you can see the parts of the sweat gland also, that are the duct, either this one or going this up to the skin, and the gland itself. Stimulation of how they act. Now the next thing, that is how they are going to act. Stimulation of the anterior hypothalamus preoptic area in the brain, either electrically or by excess heat, causes sweating. The nerve impulses from this area that cause sweating are transmitted in the autonomic pathway to the spinal cord and then through sympathetic outflow to the skin everywhere in the body. The secretory portion of the sweat gland is the primary secretion or precursor secretion. The concentration of constituents in the fluid are then modified as the fluid flows through the duct. As you can see from the picture, that below we have the gland which is going to produce the secretion, and through the duct they comes up to be released from the sweat gland. The precursor secretion is an active secretory product of the epithelial cells lining the coil portion of the sweat gland, and you can see from this picture that the sympathetic nerve which are the cholinergic in nature, these are the fibers ending on or near the glandular cells. They are going to produce the secretion when they are stimulated because of the excess heat. They are stimulated, hypothalamus is stimulated, it conveys its impulses through the sympathetic nerves which comes to the sweat glands, and they secrete excess of their secretion. These secretions then come to the through the duct, they come to the this point, that is the upper surface of the skin. These are the layers of the skin, dermis and epidermis. Epi means upper. So this is the upper layer of the dermis, means skin. Upper layer of the skin, and below we have the dermis, the second layer of the skin. So the duct that is mainly present in the epidermis. As compared to the sweat gland, we have another type of the gland that is called the sebaceous gland. What are these? These are the glands that are composed of epithelial cells. This type of gland is found mostly in hair follicles on our body. Sweat glands, as compared to the sebaceous gland, are the glands that produce our sweat. As you might expect, their main function is to protect the skin from the severe dryness. I am going to show you how the sebaceous gland they act. Through this animation, cortisol is a major stress hormone, making skin cells churn out oily lipids from the sebaceous gland. So from these sebaceous glands, the oily substances they come out. But when there is too much of these oily lipids called the sebum, they can plug up the swollen inflamed pores and trap the bacteria inside. A pimple is born, which you mostly in females, they mostly experience these pimples. Now through this animation you can recognize how these pimples over the skin they are formed. Now question is how the sweat is formed, and what is the next process, how the electrolytes they are lost in sweat and how they are controlled. So sweat is made from the blood. When sweat evaporates, heat is efficiently lost outside the body, lowering the body temperature. The sweat contains electrolytes, and sweating therefore results not only in the loss of water but also the electrolytes. The electrolyte that is most easily lost in sweat is sodium, which is the most common electrolyte in the blood. Therefore, if a person drinks only water when sweating and does not replenish the salt that is being lost, this will result in an inadequate amount of salt in the body. Because salt plays a role in regulating muscle contractions, an insufficiency of salt can result in muscle spasms and cramping. These are the heat cramps. If this condition persists, the body's mechanism for regulating body temperature cannot catch up. Body temperature will rise, the brain will be affected, and the person may collapse and lose consciousness. And this is the heat stroke. And heat stroke is extremely dangerous. Now the other extreme of the temperature, that is lowest point of the temperature, which may cause the frostbite. When the body is exposed to extremely low temperature, surface area can freeze. The freezing is called frostbite. This occurs especially in the lobes of the ears and in the digits of the hands and feet. If the freeze has been sufficient to cause extensive formation of ice crystals in the cells, permanent damage usually results, such as permanent circulatory impairment as well as local tissue damage. You can see this condition very much common in the our army persons, because they have to go or they have to perform their duty in extreme of the lowness of the temperature at hilly area also. So there they can have this frostbite, through which the severe damage can also occur. Sometimes the whole part of the body, for example leg or arm, like that, it may cut down because or severe impairment to the tissues of the leg that occur, and permanently circulatory damage can occur. So it may be very much difficult and dangerous for those people. Often gangrene follows and the frostbitten area must be removed surgically. You can see the picture how they are affected. So this condition can lead to the severe circulatory and tissue damage. That's why it is very important to maintain the temperature of our body. So with this, we complete our lecture today. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.